What is going on, and welcome back into Byerly Studios. Now this is just a very quick clip and also just a highlight clip of me creating the Ditto Pokemon Diorama piece that me and my daughter have been building. So during the process of that build, a piece of the clay that I had sculpted around the switch for the on and off actually broke free, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to show how not just using oven bake, but I use air dry clay to kind of patch and repair dioramas and things after the fact, after it's already created, sculpted, baked, and painted and ready to go. So what I'm doing is I'm just using this air dry clay and I'm kind of molding it around the base of the button that I'm going to be using. The button does allow it to be removed after the fact. So what I'm just using is this old air dry clay, and I say old because I've had it for over a year and never needed it. But when you need it and have it, you want it, right? So I went ahead and just kind of laid that around the button, and I'm kind of blending that in before I can actually start to texture this again so that it looks like it's all one piece of clay. Now, as of one more reminder, this original clay was Sculpey Original Ovenbake Clay, and then this is Sculpey Airdry Clay. So, of course, two different types of clay. Now, as you work with this, just remember that the clay that I'm using here is quite a bit older than it should be. Yours probably will have a lot more life to it. Mine has a lot of tug, a lot of dryness to it. So, although it is a little bit tougher to work with in the video that I'm showing here, it will probably be a little bit easier for you. Also, just remember that the air dry clay does have trouble sticking to a lot of substances once it is fully cured. So sometimes, if need be, this portion might pull up. You would want to use some kind of adhesive or glue, or maybe some bacon bond of some sort to kind of adhere that air dry clay to the already cured acrylics or Sculpey Original. So it depends on how you do that, but this is just sculpting it on top of the existing paint, and we're going to blend this in almost like a little bit of a patchwork look. And then once it's blended in with some tinfoil and some detail, which we're going to begin now, you'll never be able to tell that it is separated from the original rock formation unless you just truly already know it's there. So I'm just using a sculpting tool here just to kind of define and blend in some of those edges where I had to add a little bit more clay. I'm also making sure that the bottom piece of that kind of lines up with the existing rock formation. So you can see there before I had used a X-Acto knife and just a straight edge tool to kind of cut and trim and shorten that piece out so that it's not hanging below the existing rock formation. You may also be wondering yourself, well, it kind of looks a little bit odd and a little bit strange. Yes, it is upside down right now. Just because of the shape of the diorama piece, I found that it was easier just to use it the way that it was here, upside down. It gave me a little bit extra height and a little bit better of an angle for video purposes. Kind of wallering that out a little bit, making that hole slightly larger, just enough to where I can get the actual button into the groove there. And I'm also going to test fit this probably maybe 2 or 3 times before I really start to block in the details. So once I get that fit really good, we'll be able to remove that and we'll be able to start texturing the actual rock to make it feel like more of a rock texture. You'll also notice here that I had to add a little bit more clay there just because I didn't build that up enough. But that also allows me to kind of run that sculpting tool along the edge of the lower portion of the button so I can kind of make sure that's blended in and it looks like that was sculpted around, or I had perfectly sculpted it originally for the button to fit into that groove. So I'm going to carefully pull that out without trying to tug on the clay too much, and then we can begin the detail work. So first off, I'm just kind of blend those edges in where it kind of pulled or tugged, and then we're going to use the aluminum foil to kind of detail it right before we go into acrylics. It's okay if you kind of don't detail it the exact same way that you had before, or kind of blend it perfectly. You can use the acrylic paints to really kind of detail out and kind of frame in those parts that aren't exactly perfect and kind of hide any kind of blemishes that might exist. So I begin a lot of my painting processes by applying a nice thick layer of Mars Black, which I did do here, and that just gives you a nice base to work from. Then I'll slowly, gradually increase the amount of titanium white in that mixture of Mars Black until I can kind of build up highlights and layers into more of a rock texture. I will also slowly blend in a little bit of burnt umber into that as well, just to add kind of an earthy dark tone, before I go into the more of a cave drip, stalagmite, stalactite type of cave drip yellow ochre here. These are Winsor & Newton paints, very vibrant colors, very beautiful, and I love this yellow ochre, especially for any kind of decay or more so vibrant like fungus, earth colors. It really turns out great. We're going to flip this back over on the bottom here, and kind of this is the way that it's actually supposed to be displayed. You can really see I'm starting to block in some of those details. I'm kind of using that Mars Black and also the burnt umber just to kind of frame in any kind of imperfections that I see, and by continuously using that yellow ochre as a drip to continue from the existing clay down to this new portion of clay, it really blends in the seam lines. So as you can see here, we kind of really blended that in. And although this is just a short video of me just working on patching this clay, I hope that you can kind of see just by using air dry clay on existing baked clay, it is really just an easy way to make patches and repair cracks, or maybe just replace complete sections of missing or broken clay. There I am putting that button back in place, getting it all set, and it looks like I really did sculpt that clay just for that button. Whereas before with the oven baked clay, before it broke, it just didn't feel like it was as form fit as it is now. So again, this was just Sculpey original baked clay, and then we went over it with Sculpey Airdry. All hand painted acrylics, Winsor & Newtons, just to give that patchwork the beautiful blending camouflage that it deserves. Hope y'all enjoyed this nice little small clip of this full length Ditto diorama that I've been building. I will catch you guys on the next video. Later, guys.